There are moments when you enter a room and before a single word is spoken, you feel something, a quiet vibration, an invisible presence, as though the air itself has taken notice of your arrival. The body remains still, but the soul has already begun a conversation. It is not the voice that speaks first, it is the aura, that subtle radiance which reveals what our tongues conceal. Every human being carries such a field around them, woven from their joys, their wounds, their unspoken truths. You cannot disguise it with polite smiles or clever words. It betrays what the conscious mind wishes to hide. In that silent exchange, two unconscious worlds recognize each other long before the intellect awakens. There are moments when silence says more than speech ever could. You meet a stranger, your eyes linger for a breath, and suddenly you know something, a quiet recognition that bypasses logic entirely. It isn't the tone of their voice or the movement of their hands, it's something deeper, subtler, almost ancient. The air between you carries a message. Their presence, their being, speaks before any sound can. The soul, though unseen, always finds a way to declare itself. The soul speaks long before the mouth dares to move. It reveals itself through the smallest gestures, the way someone looks away when truth comes too close, or how their shoulders sink under invisible weight. The trembling edge of a smile, the flicker of the eyes, the rhythm of their breathing, all whisper stories that words could never hold. We believe we communicate through language, but in truth, language is a late arrival. Beneath the conversation of words, there flows a deeper exchange, the dialogue of energies, the resonance of being with being. Every person carries within them a silent transmitter, endlessly broadcasting the state of their inner world. You can sense it when you walk into a room. One person's presence feels calm and grounding, another's burns like restless fire, and yet another's leaves you uneasy for reasons you cannot explain. What you perceive is not imagination, it is intuition, the ancient instrument of the psyche. It listens not to words, but to vibrations, the tone of one's essence. And that tone is shaped by everything we have ever experienced, accepted or denied within ourselves. We spend much of our lives crafting the perfect words, the right mask, the proper posture to show the world. Yet the soul is indifferent to such performance. It cannot pretend. What lives within us, our fears, our desires, our regrets, all emanate outward whether we intend them to or not. When you speak, people do not truly listen to what you say, they listen to what you are. Even silence can shout when the heart behind it is unresolved. The tragedy is that so many people have forgotten how to hear this language. We have grown accustomed to noise, constant conversation, endless commentary, the hum of distraction. But when you learn to listen differently, when you quiet the surface chatter of the mind, you begin to hear the undercurrent, the emotional frequency of another human being. You begin to notice how some people's presence expands you, while others quietly drain the life from you. You begin to realize that communication is not an act of the mouth, but of the entire being. And so we must become aware of the message our own souls are sending. What do others feel when they stand beside you? What do you radiate when you walk into a room? If your words are kind, but your energy is cold, the world will believe the energy, not the words. The soul is incapable of deceit. It broadcasts truth even when the mind wishes to conceal it. That is why authenticity is not a moral choice, it is a necessity. Only when we reconcile with our inner self can our presence speak peace instead of chaos. When the soul speaks, the wise listen. Its language is the trembling in your chest when something feels wrong, the warmth in your heart when truth stands before you. It has no sound, yet it moves mountains within us. And perhaps, when we finally learn to hear this silent speech, we will discover that we have been speaking to one another all along, not in words, but in the language of being itself. What you hide in silence radiates louder than your words. You may remain perfectly still, say all the right things, and wear a face carved in calm composure, yet something in the air betrays you. The unspoken always finds its way into the world. A quiet tension hums beneath your gestures. A faint tremor hides in your smile, and the listener's heart, though they cannot explain why, begins to feel what you never intended to reveal. You think you are silent, but your silence is speaking for you. Every emotion we repress becomes a note in the aura's invisible music. Anger swallowed too long becomes a sharp edge in the voice. Sorrow buried deep lingers like a chill around the body. Even unexpressed love, that tender ache we carry but never confess, glows faintly like embers beneath ash. We imagine that concealment protects us, that if we lock our pain in the cellar of the psyche, it will sleep forever. But the unconscious does not rest. It breathes through posture, through gaze, through every pause between words. What we refuse to feel within ourselves begins to announce itself to the world in other ways, through the heaviness of our presence, through the subtle distance in our eyes, through the tone that says more than our language allows. People often speak of intuition as though it were a mystical gift, but it is merely the art of listening to what others unconsciously broadcast. You can sense when someone carries bitterness, even if they smile warmly. You can feel when a person's kindness is genuine, because it softens the space around them. The psyche, like light, cannot be contained. It leaks through the cracks of the persona, that mask we polish so carefully for the world to see. And no matter how refined the mask, the truth beneath it glows through dot. In the presence of truth, we feel peace. In the presence of deceit, we feel tension. The body knows before the mind interprets. Have you ever stood beside someone who spoke beautifully, yet something inside you recoiled without reason? That was your deeper awareness, recognizing dissonance, the gap between their spoken words and their silent signal. The aura carries that signal. It is the soul's atmosphere, and it hums with whatever we are unwilling to confront. To live authentically, then, is not merely to speak honestly, but to be honest, to align the outer expression with the inner reality. When your emotions, thoughts, and actions move in the same rhythm, your presence becomes clear, light, and effortless. There is no need to persuade anyone of who you are. Your being communicates it before you utter a single syllable. But when the inner world and the outer facade fall out of harmony, shadow forms, a distortion that others feel even when they cannot name it, the great work of the soul is to bring light into that shadow, to make conscious what has long been hidden. Every emotion you suppress waits not to punish you, but to be understood. The moment you allow it to surface, its energy transforms, tension softens into clarity, pain becomes empathy, and silence turns into calm strength. The aura brightens not by pretending to be pure, but by daring to be whole. And perhaps this is why some people, without saying much, can move you deeply. Their aura speaks of a soul that has faced itself, one that no longer hides behind the armor of words. In their quiet presence, you sense truth, and truth, when felt rather than spoken, awakens something ancient within us. Every aura is a confession the unconscious cannot withhold. It speaks without your permission, revealing what the tongue cannot bear to name. You may walk through the world convinced that your inner world is invisible, that your secrets sleep, safely beneath layers of civility and control, but the psyche is transparent to those who know how to see. The unconscious is like light trapped beneath water. It bends, distorts, and refracts through every word, every movement, every silence you create. You cannot silence it. You can only pretend not to hear it. Each person carries an unseen autobiography written in the language of energy. The chapters are not made of words, but of impressions, the quiet sorrow behind the eyes, the weight in the posture, the warmth or coldness that fills the space around them. These are not mere mannerisms, they are the psyche's handwriting. You may not hear a confession spoken aloud, but the aura whispers it constantly, faithfully, sometimes painfully. It tells of what we have endured, what we have loved, what we have denied. It tells of every emotion we refuse to feel, every truth we chose to bury, every part of ourselves we have yet to forgive. When two people meet, their unconscious minds begin to converse long before the exchange of words. Something deep within one psyche recognizes the stories concealed in another. You sense it, the faint tightening in your chest when someone's hidden anger brushes against your calm, or the sudden comfort when another's inner peace meets your own turbulence. These moments are not imagination, they are recognition. The unconscious always seeks its mirror. It wants to see itself, even in others. We like to believe that what we hide will remain hidden, but repression does not erase truth. It only forces it to find another form of expression. The anger denied becomes sharp sarcasm. The grief unspoken becomes fatigue. The longing we suppress colors the tone of our voice, the tilt of our gaze. And so, without realizing it, we confess. Every gesture becomes a revelation, every interaction a mirror reflecting the secret architecture of our soul. The aura cannot lie because it does not know how. It is innocence itself, pure energy, untouched by the disguises of intellect. This is why authenticity feels so magnetic. When a person lives in harmony with their truth, their aura radiates coherence. There are no fractures, no hidden currents pulling in opposite directions. You feel at ease in their presence because nothing within them is at war. But when someone's inner world is filled with denial and self-deception, the aura trembles with dissonance, beautiful words clash against hidden fear, smiles fight against silent despair. The unconscious speaks, and we feel the contradiction, even if we cannot name it. To face oneself is the beginning of silence, the kind that is alive rather than empty. When you begin to make peace with your own hidden stories, the confession your aura makes to the world changes. It no longer speaks of conflict or pretense, but of understanding. You cease to radiate the hunger for approval or the tension of disguise. Instead, your presence begins to say, I am what I am. I have seen myself and chosen to remain. That quiet acceptance becomes your language, wordless, calm, an unmistakably human dot, and perhaps this is the most honest conversation we ever have, not the one carried by words, but the one carried by the energy of being itself, where every soul, knowingly or not, tells the truth it cannot contain, that the presence is not what you show, is what you emanate. You can dress your body in elegance, sharpen your words to perfection, and arrange your expression into the most convincing mask of calm, yet none of it can conceal the current that flows from within you. The aura precedes every entrance you make. Long before your first word, it has already introduced you. It tells the world, this is what I carry. This is who I am when no one is watching. You do not decide what your presence communicates. Your being does. There is a difference between the image you project and the presence you embody. The image is deliberate, built from effort, control, and the anxious need to be perceived a certain way. But presence is effortless. It is the vibration of the inner truth you live with. You cannot sculpt it with intention because it is sculpted by experience, by every choice you've made, by every emotion you've dared or refused to feel. When someone stands before you, what they truly sense is not your posture or your words, but the silent resonance of your inner state. It is the subtle pulse of your authenticity or the echo of its absence. You felt it countless times. There are people who walk into a room and without a sound, everything feels lighter. You cannot explain it, but their presence restores something forgotten, a calmness, a sense of trust. And there are others whose entrance seems to drain the air, though they smile politely and speak beautifully. Their energy feels crowded with noise, with something unresolved. This is the unseen economy of presence. Every human being carries a field that gives or takes, opens or contracts, heals or harms, often without intention. The tragedy of our time is that we mistake performance for presence. We polish our personas until they gleam, hoping the world will love the reflection. But people do not respond to reflections, they respond to what radiates beneath them. The psyche recognizes truth instinctively. It seeks resonance, not perfection. A simple, unguarded soul will always move us more deeply than the most sophisticated mask. For what we truly long for is not brilliance, but realness. Presence is the quiet fragrance of authenticity, and authenticity can never be rehearsed. To cultivate presence is not to learn a new way of acting, but to remember a forgotten way of being. It begins in the silence within you, that deep, unspoken awareness where you are neither striving nor pretending. The more you reconcile with your inner contradictions, the more your energy begins to harmonize. You no longer emit the static of self-denial or the tension of control. Instead, your aura becomes transparent, a clear window through which the essence of your soul can be seen. In such a state, you need not persuade anyone of your worth. You need not announce your confidence or your strength. The world feels it. Animals, children, even strangers sense it because presence is primal. It is felt, not learned. The mind may doubt it, but the body always knows. And when your inner state aligns with your outer expression, your very existence begins to communicate something pure and unmistakable. I am here, holy, without defense. That is the quiet power of genuine presence, the kind that speaks before words, lingers after silence, and reminds every soul that encounters it that truth, when embodied, is louder than sound. The unseen dialogue between souls begins where speech ends. Every human interaction is layered, and beneath the chatter of words there flows a subtler current, a conversation of energies, emotions, and unconscious recognition. You may sit across from someone, exchange polite sentences, smile at the right moments, yet deep within, something far older is unfolding. Your soul listens not to what is said, but to what is felt. The aura listens, the body listens, and somewhere in that invisible exchange, truth speaks its quiet language. When words fall silent, the real dialogue begins. There is a communication that bypasses the mind entirely, a communion of essence. It's why sometimes you meet a person for the first time and feel as if you've known them forever, or why another can speak kindly yet leave you unsettled, as though your spirit recoils from theirs. What is happening in those moments is not fantasy but resonance. Two frequencies either harmonize or clash, and that vibration tells you everything words never could. The soul does not negotiate, it recognizes. It sees through the surface, through charm, through intellect, through performance, and touches the raw material of being. It knows who is hiding, who is hurting, who is awake, and who is asleep. It is an ancient awareness that moves beneath thought, a form of intuition that once guided us before we learned to speak. In its presence, words become almost unnecessary. A glance, a pause, a shared silence carries meaning vast enough to fill volumes. There is a kind of honesty that only silence can hold. When you sit with someone who no longer fears their own depths, you feel it. Their stillness doesn't demand your attention, it invites it. It says, you may rest here. You are safe in this space. That is the power of unspoken connection. It does not reach for you. It simply allows you to arrive. The energy between two authentic souls becomes a bridge, not a battlefield. No pretense can pass across it. No mask can survive upon it. And yet, we often drown this deeper conversation beneath noise. We fill our lives with endless speech, explanations, justifications, declarations, all in the hope of being understood, when, in truth, understanding is never born of words. It is born of presence. It is what happens when two auras meet in sincerity, when both cease performing and simply are. Then the silence between them ceases to be emptiness. It becomes fullness, a sacred resonance where something real can finally emerge. It is in that silence that healing often begins. A wounded soul, when met by a compassionate one, feels seen without explanation. No advice is needed, no reassurance must be spoken. The comfort lies in recognition itself, the unspoken affirmation, I understand your pain, for I have known it too. Such moments are rare, yet they are the very heartbeat of our humanity. For all our languages and inventions, it is still silent communion of souls that nourishes us most. This unseen dialogue surrounds us always. It hums beneath conversations, glows in acts of kindness, lingers in glances that last a second too long. It is the current that reminds us that communication is not a matter of sound, but of truth, and that, long before we learned to speak, we already knew how to listen. Light and shadow both glow within the aura silent language. No soul is made of pure brightness. No human being is untouched by darkness. We are the meeting point of both, the radiant and the concealed, the conscious and the forgotten. The aura does not lie about this balance, it reveals it completely. It shows the harmony or dissonance between what we embrace and what we deny. It is a living reflection of the eternal tension that shapes us, the dance between light and shadow. When you meet a person whose aura feels magnetic, it is rarely because they are purely good or endlessly cheerful. It is because their light does not flee from their darkness. They have faced the places within themselves that others avoid, the anger, the guilt, the pain, and in doing so, they have turned shadow into depth. Their presence feels real because it carries both the ache and the peace that come from self-knowledge. You can feel it without knowing why. The air around them vibrates differently, as though they carry both the storm and the calm after it. Most people fear their shadow, they bury it, deny it, and then wonder why their aura feels heavy or clouded. But the shadow never disappears, it only hides behind the illusion of light. The more we suppress it, the louder it speaks through our energy, through irritation we can't explain, through unease others feel around us, through the quiet tension in our smiles. The aura becomes distorted when the self is divided. It flickers like a candle caught between winds, unsure which way to burn. True presence is born from integration. When you stop running from your darker emotions and begin to listen to them, something miraculous happens. The energy within you begins to harmonize. Fear softens into understanding. Rage transforms into strength. Sadness becomes compassion. These transmutations are not fantasies, they are psychological truths. The unconscious does not vanish when confronted, it evolves. And as it evolves, the aura changes color, it clears, expands, and becomes calm, luminous, grounded dot light without shadow is blinding, shadow without light is suffocating. But together they create depth, like the chiaroscuro of a great painting, where contrast gives form to beauty. In the same way, a balanced soul radiates with subtle complexity. It neither dazzles nor hides, it simply is. You sense in such a person the fullness of human experience, someone who has suffered and survived, who has stumbled and stood again. Their light is not naive, it is earned. And the warmth you feel in their presence is not the glow of perfection, but the glow of wholeness. In truth, the aura's beauty lies not in purity, but in coherence. It carries both the sun and the shadow as parts of one sky. To deny either is to divide yourself against yourself. Every emotion, even the ones we fear, is a fragment of energy longing for acceptance. The moment you begin to own your contradictions, your energy stops scattering outward in conflict and begins to flow inward, uniting you. And others feel it instantly, the peace of someone who has stopped pretending. Perhaps this is why certain people, even in silence, awaken something within us. They remind us of what we could be if we stopped hiding from our own depths. They do not shine because they are flawless, they shine because they are whole. Their aura tells the story of reconciliation, the kind of truth that cannot be spoken, only felt. The aura reveals the truth the ego is too proud to utter. Beneath the polished surface of identity, beneath the carefully constructed image we offer the world, there exists an energy that cannot be managed, rehearsed, or disguised. The ego is a sculptor, forever carving its ideal self, forever adjusting its posture under the gaze of others, but the aura tells what the sculptor's chisel cannot erase. It speaks of the fractures, the doubts, the longing to be loved without a performance. It whispers the truth of who we are when the applause fades and the mirror grows quiet. The ego fears exposure because it survives through illusion, through control, through narrative, through the endless effort to appear certain. It speaks loudly, but its language is brittle. The aura, however, speaks softly, yet with a power that cannot be contradicted. It emanates directly from the unconscious, where no lies can live. And so, even when the ego proclaims confidence, the aura may tremble with insecurity. Even when we insist on strength, it may reveal exhaustion. The world feels this dissonance instinctively. People do not always know why they mistrust our words, but they feel when our energy betrays them. Every pretense has a weight. The more we strive to appear perfect, the heavier our aura becomes. The effort of maintaining an image drains the vitality from our presence. You can sense it in those who are always performing, their smiles slightly too wide, their words slightly too bright. The aura behind them flickers, restless and uneven, because truth resists confinement. It longs to breathe, to be seen, to exist without the ego's interference. There is great courage in allowing the aura to speak freely. To do so is to surrender the need to impress and instead offer authenticity. It is to say, this is me in all my beauty and imperfection. When the ego steps aside, the energy within you reorganizes itself. The tension dissolves. The body relaxes. The space around you clears. People begin to feel peace in your presence because there is no longer a battle between appearance and essence. You have become transparent to your own truth, and in that transparency there is quiet power. We are conditioned to believe that truth is something we tell, yet in reality it is something we radiate. Words may attempt to explain us, But energy reveals us, and while words can deceive, energy cannot. It flows directly from the alignment or misalignment of our inner world. This is why the most moving presences are rarely the loudest. They are often those who no longer need to defend their image. Their aura feels clear, open, and alive because they have nothing left to hide. To live in this way requires a certain humility, the humility to let the false self die, to let go of the version of you the world once demanded. It means trusting that the unpolished truth of your being is enough, that the soul's quiet honesty can reach further than the ego's loudest performance. When you accept yourself without adornment, the aura becomes luminous, not because it is perfect, but because it is sincere. The light of sincerity cuts through pretense, like dawn through fogadot, and so the final revelation is simple yet profound. The aura is not merely what surrounds you, it is what you become when you stop resisting your own truth. When the ego falls silent, what remains is the unspoken radiance of the soul, calm, steady, and impossibly real. So I say to you now, let the silence within you speak. Do not fear what your aura reveals. Let it become your truth made visible. You are not merely a collection of words or titles or fleeting masks. You are a field of living energy, the sum of every truth you have dared to face. Stand in that awareness. Walk into every room knowing that your very presence is a language, one that can heal, inspire, and awaken those around you. You owe it to yourself and to the world to shine without disguise. Do not chase perfection. Chase wholeness. Integrate your shadows, honor your light, and allow your aura to become a mirror of your courage. The world does not need more people who perform strength. It needs people who embody it quietly, truthfully, without apology. When your being aligns with your truth, nothing external can diminish you. You will feel an inner certainty that no circumstance can disturb, because you will have become what you were always meant to be, a living, breathing manifestation of authenticity. So go, carry your silence like a flame. Let your energy walk before your words. Let your truth echo beyond your voice. Become the presence that awakens others to their own. You are more radiant than you know, and more powerful than you have ever believed. Trust the unseen dialogue that flows through you. Trust the aura that speaks without words. Good luck on your journey, and thank you truly for listening not just with your ears, but with your soul.